Well, aloha and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me in today's live stream and podcast. My name is Paul Fletcher and this is The Healing Source. We are midstream into season number 9, and this season we're focusing on the opening and developing of spiritual channels. And everything up to this point has led up to this specific subject. Now, this podcast is, I believe, the 4th in this series. The first 2 set the foundation for understanding what are spiritual channels and why it's important to open them. And then last week, we spoke about the soul language channel. The soul language channel, to put it in a nutshell, is the foundation of the 4 major channels that I'll be discussing in the next several weeks. When an individual opens their soul language and works with developing their soul language channel by chanting their soul language, they are effectively enhancing their wellness, they are increasing their vitality and immunity, and accordingly they are opening up their channel through which the source and all those in the soul world can communicate. Now, one of the beautiful benefits of opening up the soul language channel is the ability to connect with your own soul and, of course, the source creator. As I shared with you last week, these benevolent beings of light are always communicating with us, as well, of course, is our heavens teams, guides, angels, and saints. And in that communication, they are always doing their absolute best to nudge us to the center of the lane, so to speak, so that we can avoid making mistakes. In my head, I've always thought of them, our guides, angels, and saints, our soul, and of course the source, as the little rubber bumpers that they run along the bowling lane. I don't know if you remember as a kid when we got to go bowling, and they put up these little rubber bumpers, and so the ball would hit one side and go to the other side, but it would stay in the middle of the lanes and not go in the gutter, and then we would eventually hit some pins at the end. And for me as a kid, doing that felt wonderful because a gutter ball didn't feel so good. And in life, we tend to throw a lot of gutter balls, right? We have failures here and bad relationships there, and we make a lot of mistakes. In hindsight, we say, I wish I would have made a different choice. In hindsight, I wish I would not have been with that person, and so forth. It's highly, highly likely that in the review of your life, you will recognize those times when heaven and your Shifus and heaven's teams and your own soul was knocking on your spiritual door in your spiritual ear, and they were saying, hey, don't get in the relationship with that person. It's time to learn this experience. It's time to not settle for less. It's time to ABC. And that's the times, clearly, that we weren't able to hear very well. So this is part of the reasons why the soul language channel and the other 3 channels are so important in our life. When we purposefully and consciously work with these channels, empowering these channels through practices, we can position ourselves to open the door, to open the telephone line to the source, to our own soul, and to our heavens teams, to hear more clearly that guidance, thereby not throwing gutter balls in life, but instead staying in the lane, creating far less suffering for us and far greater success in our journey. Because honestly, heaven doesn't like to see us suffer. I know you don't enjoy it. And there are ways to minimize that. And one of the best ways is to further develop our spiritual channels. Now, one additional benefit that is truly the most important of those benefits is those who have developed those open spiritual channels can use that guidance and that wisdom to help others, because many people just they need this skill set. And if there ever is any worldwide calamities or events where you are not able to contact 911 or first responders or anything like that, and you're not sure where to go to get food or water or help, spiritual channels can help you with these things, and that will allow you to help others. So this is also a very important reason to further develop your channels. Now, today, we are going to be focusing on the Divine Direct Soul Communication channel. The first one was the Soul Language channel. This is the second of the 4 channels. The Divine Direct Soul Communication channel is the channel through which we receive the messages and cause a translation of those messages. Now, this translation is very, very important. As I mentioned before, and I'll remind you here today, every soul comes from the same source. Every soul's purpose is to serve. And soul language is the singular language that all souls in all universes speak. Soul language carries a frequency and vibration, and that frequency and vibration can be understood and translated by all souls in all universes. Think of it as a universal translator. So this channel, this Divine Direct Soul Communication channel, is the translator channel, wherein you can hear the soul language of the tree or the mouse or the lion or the alien or your heavens teams, guides, angels, and saints, which is of course where our focus is. But in the expanded aspect of everything, you can eventually, with more time and practice of course, be able to communicate directly with many different souls. In my own personal business, through my website wellspringoflight.com, you can secure a private consultation. In that consultation, I do not use my mind. I call forth your soul. I call forth the soul of your heavens teams, guides, angels, and saints. I call forth the soul of the source. I even call the soul of the problem and the solution. And I ask all of these souls collectively to choose an individual soul, an individual entity, so that I can hear the message in my 4 channels that I am describing to you. And then I speak the message that I am hearing, not with my physical ear, but I'm hearing it in my channel. What channel am I hearing it in? The Divine Direct Soul Communication channel. And when I hear the message, I speak the words that I'm hearing. When I hear the message, I'm hearing it with a tone, I'm hearing it with an inflection and an energy, and I speak with that same tone, inflection, and energy. My voice doesn't get weird, but if it's a female energy, then my voice becomes soft and gentle and femaleish in its delivery of the message. And so often, because I've developed this channel, I can tell who it is that's speaking. Now, obviously, if I don't know the saint, then it's hard for me to grab that word. But I can tell if it's their soul, if it's the source. I can tell if it's a heavens team member. I can discern if it's male, female. And this is what happens when you practice. With time, you learn to practice and discern that energy and that frequency that is coming through the Divine Direct Soul Communication channel. So let's go ahead now and share a little bit on the screen about this channel so that you have a better understanding. And some of this might be repeating, but that's okay. We can always learn a little bit more. So what is the Direct Communication channel? It is a channel that bypasses the mind and the logical thinking. As I was sharing, when I connect and answer people's questions, I really have no idea what the answer is going to be. And it's kind of interesting because sometimes the mind, somebody will say, well, I have this problem, this problem, this problem, and I really need this answer, and this answer. Now my mind instantly gets to work and it says, well, have you tried this? How do you think about that? I don't speak it, but my mind's busy going, blah, da, 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 da. And what I have to do so that I can serve that person without my mind getting involved is I simply connect and I say, okay, please offer this guidance through me. And I don't have any idea what the answer is. I know what my mind thinks, but honestly, I don't know what is the highest best answer for this person. And then when I connect and I start speaking the words that come through, very often, I'm kind of witnessing the information that comes through, and I'm like, oh, I actually would have never thought about that. And having done this so many times, you start to realize that we have no idea what the answers are for a lot of things. We think we might, but heaven almost always knows what is best for us. I say almost always because, maybe they don't sometimes, 1% of the time. But this is the nature of working with your channels. You can get answers. Now, there are times when people will ask me a question, and I have no clue. My mind is not activated at all because they're telling me something that they want guidance on, and I'm like, I don't know what to do about that one. Sometimes it's a health-related question, right? I got no clue what would initiate that. And so in those cases, you have to be a very open vessel, be able to receive pure messages so that you don't analyze it, right? And I'll receive, well, this and this and this is the root cause, and this and this and this, and I'll speak it out, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Share that message with them, and very often it can be very beneficial for the necessary healing that is also available to people through the Tao healing programs. Now, as you can see, this channel is for the receiving of information. When we work with the soul language channel, we are opening our channels. We are cracking open the shell, if you will, of our soul, making us much more able to receive heaven's light, heaven's virtue, and heaven's wisdom. And when we work with the divine direct communication channel, we are also receiving message from their soul. So when I set up the communication, dear God, could you please come? Dear this individual's heaven's teams, guides, angels, and saints. Or if you're doing it for yourself, dear my heaven's teams, guides, angels, and saints, I love you, could you please come? Dear my soul, I love you, could you please come? And you invite all those souls that you would like to receive guidance from. And you'd say, could you please borrow my mouth, give me a message, right? And you have to be quiet, and you just wait, and you just wait. And you might hear one or two words like, my dear. That could be the first thing you hear. So you would write that down, my dear. Or you could speak it out, okay? So you have to discern what might be easier for you. What is not a good approach in receiving messages through this divine communication channel is thinking the message without speaking it or writing it out, because your mind can get involved in the loop of the thinking. So when you write it out or when you speak it out, put it on a recording. That way you can go back and listen to it if you're going to speak it out, okay? Sometimes the information comes in so fast you almost get an entire paragraph, and so writing it out becomes a little more difficult because you can't quite keep up. So that's why speaking can be valuable. But also, and Master Sha taught this, if you are receiving a message, then simply, if it's coming in too fast, you simply say, I'm so grateful for this message. Could you please slow it down so I can write it out at the same speed that I'm receiving it? And then they'll slow it down. That happens. I've had this happen to myself, and I've mentioned the solution to others, and they're very grateful. Now, some people, they have been practicing to receive messages, and their dilemma is they get stuck in the receiving. They don't know, am I receiving something? Am I not? I'm getting nothing, right? They don't even know where the starting point is. So let me give you some solutions on how to resolve that. The first solution is use your soul language, okay? Start with your soul language. Hey hung hung ashi yi wong yo. Hey hung hung ashi yi wong yo. Last week. Go back to it. Watch it if you missed it. Hey hung hung ashi yi wong yo. Hey hung hung ashi yi wong yo. Ya da 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 lu. Whatever your soul language is. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Digga 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 digga. How long do you do that? You do it 3 minutes, 5 minutes. You do it until there is no mind clutter. You do it until there's no mind clutter. Okay? And then you look at the piece of paper that you wrote your question down, and you say, okay, heaven, my guides, angels, and saints, can you please give me this answer for this question? And you read the question out, and then if your busy mind gets busy again, you just go back into hey da 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 da, and do that for 10, 20, 30 seconds, and then say, okay, I'm ready for the answer. When you do that, the soul language clears the clutter. And you sit there 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and you will hear at least the initial word. Now, I have guided some of my students to simply start with your own first word. Dear. Dear is a good first word. Okay? Or my. My dear. My beloved. You start with your name. Paul. It's okay to give yourself a little kickstart in that first, maybe the second word. And what will happen is that moves you past, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know if I'm going to receive. It moves you past that initial fear of, is it me? Am I making this stuff up? So you might hear, for example, my dear Paul. The key with receiving is to receive one word at a time. That's the key. When you don't know what the next word is going to be, you know that you're in flow. You know you are receiving a pure message. When you don't know what the next word is going to be, you are receiving a pure message. Okay? If you get this whole download of, well, it's probably your mind. So you sit there and you say, dear my, and you hear the next word, beloved Paul, I love you. The reason why you are not able to is because, and if you're truly just watching, because you need to be the watcher as the words come through, that next word that comes, you'd be like, oh wow. And another word comes, oh wow, I didn't think about that. You can actually observe and speak at the same time. That's when you know you are in the exact right place of receiving through your divine direct soul communication channel. Because you are watching the information come in, but you are not controlling the information that comes in. You are speaking a word, not knowing what's going to come through. And you might even say, huh, I wouldn't have guessed that one, or wow, that's interesting, or I wonder where this is going to go. So this takes a little bit of practice, of course. And the best way to practice is to ask questions that you don't have the answer to. That's the best way to practice. So let's take a look at where this channel is at. So where is the divine direct communication channel? Well, the light that is delivering the message, that light that's delivering the message is delivering a soul language. It's the soul language of the saint that's giving you the answer. It's the soul language of God that's giving you the answer. It's the soul language of your soul that's giving you the answer. It's coming through in that soul language frequency, and it's coming through your channel into your Ming Min acupuncture point, which is directly back from your belly button. So if you draw an invisible line from your belly button straight to that dip in your back, that's where your Ming Min acupuncture point is. And then it goes to what's called your Kun Gong, which is a life force energy center where your life oil lamp exists. And it goes up your channel to your message center, through your message center. So your message center acts as like the repository of the telephone line. It's the center. That's why it's called a message center. It's where you receive your messages. And if your heart is pure, if you've done your job with your heart, making it pure, clearing the blockages, doing your forgiveness practices, if you have let go of traumas, if you have let go of anger and resentments and all those things, then your heart is much more pure, and that means the message you receive is unencumbered. It is not tainted by monkey mind. That message then goes to the crown chakra where you receive this high frequency and you speak it out or write it out as we have just said. Okay, so this is in essence the process. Here's the steps. Dear God, I'd like to receive a message. Dear my heavens teams and my soul, please come, please join, please assist with the reception of this message. I'm so grateful. And then, dear my soul language, please help me clear my channel so that I can receive a pure message from God. Now you want to have your message written down, okay? What is your request? How do I get from A to B, right? Whatever you're, write it down. And so then you say, okay, and dear my soul language, please come out, please help me clear my channel. Hey hong hong ashi wong yo, hey hong hong ashi wong yo, ya hey ya hey yo 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 da 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 hey 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 la 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 la. How long do you do it? Until you basically forget your question, okay? Because you don't want your mind in the way. Hey 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 ya 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 yo 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 do 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 hey ya 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 hey ya 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 ya. Oh yeah, I'm sitting here chanting. Okay, what's my question? You look at it. Oh yeah, dear God, can you please give me the answer for this? And you can wait. If your mind starts getting busy, what do? If your mind's not busy, you wait. If nothing comes, my dear Paul, I am so grateful to be able to speak with you. And you just speak the words one at a time, however they come. Okay? I'm giving you a blueprint of a very simple way that you can speak and connect to the soul world with purity and accuracy and time. And you can start to do this each and every day. One of the practices that I teach my students, every day in the morning upon waking up, write this down. Write down 3 gratitudes. 3 things you are grateful for. And the next day when you wake up, you cannot write the same 3. It has to be completely new. And the next day, you cannot write the same thing. Right around day 10 or 11, 12, you're going to be like, man, what am I grateful for? Right? And you're going to have to start expanding your gratitude. By expanding your gratitude, what are you doing? You're opening your heart. You're setting a field of vibration for that day that will improve your day. The second thing I have them do right after they do their 3 gratitudes is Dear God, or Dear my soul, or Dear my heavens team, whomever you tend to have an easier connection with. Please tell me, and write the words down properly, can you please guide me on what is most important for me to pay attention to today? Okay? It's not what is my priority this morning right now. What is most important for me to pay attention to today? And so what will happen is, hey, my beloved son, today it is important that you nourish yourself. After work, go to the water. Great. Okay, you have a message now. Do it the next day. My dear daughter, today I would like to see you meditate for 10 minutes. Great, you got another message, right? The source, or your soul, or whomever you're talking to, can assist you with how best to set the field for your day. You might hear on your way to work, stop at your friend's house. And you'd be like, what? That'll make me late. Your busy mind, right? See what happens when you do. When you stop by, your friend might say, oh, thank goodness. I had A, B, C happen, and I didn't know how I was going to get to my job today with all this, because the car, this and the car, that. And you're like, oh, I can help you. And this is how the soul world works. They're trying to keep you in between the bumpers And then on that ride to take your friend to wherever they wasn't expecting to go to because they weren't expecting you to knock on the door, they tell you something that was exactly what you needed to hear because you had a problem with that exact thing and you were asking God for a solution for that exact thing. Maybe you asked that 2 weeks ago. And because you followed your guidance that day and you picked up the friend that day and they gave you the answer to something you asked 2 weeks ago. Source, your soul, heaven's team is always guiding you down your bumpers. Requires us to open our spiritual channels to keep us in tune and in alignment. And this is how you do it, okay? The key to opening your spiritual channels is keeping your heart chakra open. That's the key. And this is why, not too long ago, I did teachings on always do heart chakra practices. You know, forgiveness is a heart chakra practice. Okay? Always do things to keep your heart open. Always do things to keep your heart open. Daily, daily, daily. 10, 15 minutes. Chant with your eyes closed. You believe in Jesus? Ask Jesus to come sit in your heart. Chant Jesus for 15 minutes. You believe Kuan Yin? Ask Kuan Yin to sit in your heart. Chant Kuan Yin, 15 minutes. God, please come sit in my heart. God's light, 15 minutes. Chant, see the light. This is how you keep this area open, your channels open. And then you can say, dear my soul language, open and develop my heart center, and my spiritual channels. Hey hung hung shi wong ya da 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 do 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 da 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 do 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 do. 15 minutes every day. It's one of the best things you can do to further develop your spiritual channels. Okay? So, in a nutshell, what have I told you today? In conclusion, there are 4 major channels. The first and most important one is your soul language channel, and I just gave you very good reasons why. So if you don't know what I'm saying, or you're unfamiliar with it, or you have not developed your soul language, then go back to last week's teaching, where I gave you very incremental how-tos. You still have to do the work, but you can open your soul language. And then you work with your divine direct soul communication channel, just like what I gave you, the ABCs. You invite the soul world that you'd like to communicate with. You ask them for a message. And when you ask them for the message, if you don't want your monkey mind to get in the way, you use your soul language to clear the channel. Okay? Go back and listen to this again. I repeated it twice already. And make notes. First do this. Second do this. Third do this. And then I gave you 2 things to do every morning. List your 3 gratitudes. Do not repeat them. And after you list your 3 gratitudes, chant your soul language for a minute. You can ask dear God, dear Jesus, dear Buddha, whomever you believe. Ask them for that guidance that day. My soul, what's my guidance for today? What was the specific verbiage I gave you? Right? I have to think for a moment. I don't want to repeat it wrong. So just go back to what I said earlier for that specific verbiage that you asked that day. Okay? And again, if you find yourself not hearing anything, it's okay to add that first word or 2. All right? My dear, and then the rest will naturally start coming. Now, it is natural that you're going to question, is that really me? Is that monkey mind? This is why I say, speak 1 word at a time. This will help you to realize that you're not making something up. Okay? And also, when you go and you do what is suggested, you will find that your day will be much smoother. And when you do it the next day, your day will be much smoother. And when you start hearing things that you don't expect at all, and you go and do them, and you realize there's some synchronicity in your life because you followed that guidance, that's when your aha moments and your validation of your practices will really start to help you to feel much more comfortable that this is truly messages from your soul or the soul world. Okay? So I'm very grateful to deliver this message to you on discovering the power of this most important channel. Go back, listen to this again, make the notes as needed. I will be here next week, and I will be talking about the 3rd eye channel. Everybody's favorite, the 3rd eye. Lots of wonderful information to share with you there. Okay? So until I see you here next week, have an amazing day, everybody. Bye-bye.